We don't need you without money, my parents shouted. Your bags are there, said Dad, so I left. Everything changed when I got rich and now they came begged me but I still remember the day my parents told me I wasn't worth anything without money. It's burned into my memory like a scar. I had just come back from another exhausting interview. I'd been job hunting for weeks, walking into offices, shaking hands, smiling until my face hurt, only to hear the same canned answers. We'll be in touch. Or, we hired someone with more experience. It was a nightmare I couldn't seem to wake up from. When I moved back in with my parents a few months ago, I thought they'd understand. It was supposed to be temporary, a place to stay while I got back on my feet. At first, they seemed okay with it. They even said things like, "Don't stress, Ethan, you'll find something soon." And, "We've all been there." I actually thought they meant it. But as time went on, things started to change. I could feel their patience wearing thin. At first it was little comments like, "Still no job?" Or, "What do you do all day, Ethan?" Then came the comparisons to my brother Tyler. He was their pride and joy. Everything Tyler did was perfect in their eyes. He had a great job in engineering, a house, a wife, and a son. Meanwhile, I was the loser, crashing on their couch. When I told them I had run out of savings, that was the breaking point. I couldn't even afford the small rent I was giving them each month. I came home that night after another failed interview, mentally and physically exhausted. I thought maybe we'd talk things through. Maybe they'd give me some advice or tell me to hang in there. But instead, they had already packed my things. My suitcase was at the front door. Dad was standing there with his arms crossed, waiting for me to notice. When I finally did, he said in a cold, flat voice, "Your bags are there. We don't need you without money." I blinked. "What?" "You heard me," he said, not even bothering to repeat himself. "We've helped you enough." Mom came into the room, wiping her hands on a towel as if she just finished cleaning. "Look, Ethan, we have our own lives to live. We can't carry you. Your brother never needed us like that." There it was. Tyler again. I was so tired of hearing about him, like his success was some kind of personal insult to me. I clenched my jaw and tried to keep my cool. "So that's it? You're kicking me out because I can't pay the rent?" "Don't be dramatic," Mom replied. "You're a grown man. You need to figure this out for yourself. We don't run a shelter." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These were my parents. The people who were supposed to have my back no matter what. I'd never felt more unwanted in my life. "Wow," I muttered, shaking my head. "You'd really do that to your own son?" Dad scoffed. "Don't try to guilt us. We've done enough for you. And frankly, maybe this will light a fire under you. You've been moping around too long." I was done. I didn't argue anymore. I grabbed my suitcase and walked out the door without looking back. The cold night air hit me as I stood on the porch, trying to figure out what to do next. I had nowhere to go. No job. No money. Just me, a suitcase, and the crushing reality that I was truly on my own now. I stood on the porch for a while, trying to think of who I could call. Friends? Most of them were out of state or barely scraping by. Tyler came to mind, but I hesitated. We weren't exactly close. He was 5 years older than me and had always been the geek in the family. I couldn't count the number of times my parents had thrown his success in my face. I didn't want to be another burden on his already busy life. He had a wife, a son, and a career. Why would he want to deal with me? Still, I didn't have a lot of options. I sighed and pulled out my cell phone. It was after 10 p.m., but I called him anyway. "Ethan?" Tyler's voice sounded confused. He hadn't expected me to call, especially this late. "Yeah, hey. I need some help," I said, hating how desperate I sounded. I explained the situation, leaving out some of the more gruesome details, but he figured it out pretty quickly. "Wait, they kicked you out?" Tyler sounded genuinely shocked. "Are you serious?" "Yeah. Said they didn't need me without money. They packed my bags while I was out. There was a long pause. Finally he said, "Jesus. I knew they were hard on you, but this is just messed up. Look, come over. You can stay here for a while." I felt the tension in my chest ease a little. "Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Don't mention it. Just get here safe, okay?" I made my way to Tyler's place, which was about a 40-minute bus ride away. When I got there, he was waiting for me outside in sweats and a hoodie, despite the freezing air. He helped me with my suitcase and took me inside. His wife, Sarah, was in the living room, curled up on the couch with a blanket. "Ethan?" she said, sitting up. "Tyler told me what happened. I'm so sorry." I gave her a small nod, feeling uncomfortable. I wasn't used to this kind of sympathy. Over the next few weeks, Tyler and Sarah did more for me than I ever expected. Tyler helped me revise my resume and even reached out to some contacts at his company to see if there were any openings. He didn't just offer me a place to crash, he gave me a real chance to get my life back on track. But here's where things took an unexpected turn. About 2 weeks after I moved in, Tyler got into a huge fight with our parents. I wasn't there to hear it firsthand, but Tyler told me about it later. Apparently, Dad had called him to complain about me. He said something like, "We gave Ethan a lot of chances. He's lazy and entitled. We're glad you're teaching him a lesson." Tyler didn't hold back. He told them they were heartless for abandoning me and that I wasn't the screw-up they thought I was. He told them that I was working hard, trying to get my life together, and that they should be ashamed of how they treated me. They didn't take it well. Tyler admitted when he told me about the fight. But I don't care. Someone had to say it. I was floored. Tyler had always seemed distant, as if he lived in his own world, but now he was going to fight for me in a way I never expected. That moment changed everything. It wasn't just about getting a job anymore. I wanted to prove to myself and maybe even to Tyler that I was capable of more. I wasn't going to let my parents' opinions define me anymore. Living with Tyler gave me a different perspective on things. He wasn't perfect, far from it. I always thought he had everything figured out, but I saw the stress he was under firsthand. Between work meetings, taking care of his son, Liam, and balancing time with Sarah, he barely had a moment to breathe. It made me realize how much he was sacrificing to help me. It wasn't just a place to stay. He was carrying a lot of weight for me. I silently vowed to pay him back one day, no matter what it took. About 3 weeks in, something strange happened. I got a call from Dad. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hey," I said cautiously. "Ethan," he began, in a voice that was way too friendly, like he was trying to sweep everything under the rug. "How's it going?" I didn't buy it for a second. "What do you want, Dad? Don't be like that. I was just checking in. I know things got a little heated, but your mother and I were just trying to do what's best for you." I almost laughed. "Best for me? You kicked me out with no warning because I couldn't pay you." There was a pause. "Well, maybe we were too harsh. We thought maybe you could come by for dinner sometime. You know, catch up." I didn't know what game he was playing, but I wasn't in the mood for it. "No thanks," I said and hung up. The next day, Tyler pulled me aside. "Mom and Dad called me this morning. They said you hung up on Dad?" "Yeah, and?" "They're acting weird," he said. "Like they're trying to save face or something. I think it's because I chewed them out." That wasn't the only weird thing. Later that week, Sarah's cousin offered me a job at his marketing firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough to get me out of debt and start saving. It felt like a small victory, but I wanted more. I didn't just want to scrape by anymore. Then came another twist. Tyler's old boss, who had transferred to a big company in Chicago, reached out with a referral. Apparently, Tyler had talked me up to him. I had an interview scheduled for a marketing strategist position, which paid triple what I had ever made before. The crazy part? I didn't even apply for it. "Why'd you do that?" I asked Tyler after he told me. "Look, man, I know what it's like to struggle. You just need someone to believe in you, he said with a shrug. Besides, you've been busting your ass. You deserve a shot. I didn't expect to land the job, but somehow I did. That's when things started to really change. Within 5 months, I went from being broke and jobless to making enough money to rent my own place. I moved out of Tyler's house just after New Year's 2024, but I stayed close to him and his family. I owed him everything, and I wasn't going to forget that. But of course, that's when my parents came crawling back. It started with texts from Mom. We're proud of you, Ethan. Let's talk soon. We heard about your new job. Amazing. Can't wait to see you. I ignored them at first. Then Dad started calling, leaving messages that were downright cringe-worthy. He talked about family loyalty, and how it was important for us to stick together. He even hinted that they might need help with a few minor expenses. Minor expenses? My ass. Tyler caught wind of it and shook his head. They haven't changed, he said. Don't let them guilt you. You don't owe them anything. Still, part of me wanted to see if they were sincere this time. Maybe they'd learned their lesson. I agreed to meet them at a coffee shop, just to hear them out. I arrived early and sat by the window. When they walked in, they were all smiles, acting like we were one big happy family. But I knew better. I waited until the small talk was out of the way before getting to the point. So, what do you really want? I asked, crossing my arms. Mom shifted uncomfortably. Well, your father and I have been having some financial difficulties. The mortgage is... Stop, I cut her off. I knew it. You don't want to reconnect. You just want my money. They looked stunned. Ethan, that's not fair, Dad said. We're family. Families help each other. Funny how you didn't feel that way when I was broke and homeless. I snapped. You packed my bags and told me to figure it out. Now you're in trouble, and suddenly I'm family again? They tried to argue, but I wasn't having it. I'm not here to be your ATM, I said. If you want a relationship with me, it won't be built on money. Got it? They nodded, but I wasn't convinced. That's where things stand now. They've been trying to play nice ever since, but I can't shake the feeling that they'll go right back to their old ways if I slip up. Tyler says I should give them a chance, but I've got my boundaries set. I'm not letting them hurt me again. After that meeting at the coffee shop, I didn't hear from my parents for a few weeks. It was almost peaceful, like I could finally focus on my work and personal life without them hovering around, pretending to care. I kept pushing forward. My job was going well. I was learning fast, making connections, and even got recognized for leading a project that brought in a new client. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was in control. But of course, the peace didn't last. One afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I wasn't going to answer, but something told me to pick up. Ethan? It was Mom. Her voice sounded off, like she had been crying. What's going on? I asked, bracing myself for more drama. It's your dad, she said, sniffling. He's in the hospital. He had a mild heart attack. I didn't know how to respond at first. There was a part of me that felt guilty for not immediately rushing to his side. But there was also that other part, the one that remembered all the times they abandoned me when I was at my lowest. Still, this wasn't something I could just ignore. I took a deep breath. Which hospital? When I arrived, I found Mom sitting in the waiting room. She looked up at me, her face pale and tired. For a second, she seemed genuinely relieved to see me. He's stable, she said quietly. But they want to keep him overnight for observation. I nodded and sat down next to her. We didn't say much for a while. It was awkward, like we were both trying to avoid bringing up the past. Eventually, she broke the silence. I know we've made mistakes, she said. We weren't there for you when we should have been. I don't expect you to forgive us, but I just wanted you to know that we're sorry. I stared at her, trying to figure out if she was being sincere or if this was just another ploy. It didn't feel like an act this time. Maybe it was the fear of losing Dad that had shaken her up. Or maybe they were finally starting to see things differently. Either way, I wasn't ready to give them my full trust yet. "We'll see," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "Actions speak louder than words." She nodded slowly, as if she understood. Later that night, Tyler called me. "Mom texted me about Dad. You alright?" "Yeah. I went to the hospital. He's doing okay." "Good," Tyler said. "Look, I know they've been a pain in the ass, but don't let this pull you back into their drama. Just be careful." "I know," I replied. "I'm not letting my guard down." Over the next few weeks, I kept my distance, but I did check in on Dad once in a while. He tried to be more cordial, and there were moments where it felt like he was actually trying to reconnect. He didn't bring up money or debts, which was a relief. Still, I couldn't shake the suspicion that they were just on their best behavior because they thought they might need me again. Then came the next surprise. One day, I got a call from Sarah. "Hey, I thought you should know, your parents stopped by Tyler's place today. It wasn't pretty." "What do you mean?" "They showed up unannounced, asking Tyler if he could talk to you about supporting them financially. Tyler told them to back off, and things got heated." I sighed. Unbelievable. They couldn't even wait a few months before trying this again. "Tyler was pissed," Sarah added. "He said if they keep pulling stunts like this, he's cutting contact with them too." I didn't want it to come to that. As much as my parents had hurt me, I didn't want to tear the family apart. But I also wasn't going to let them manipulate me anymore. Tyler was right. I had to stay firm. I sent my parents a message that night. "Don't involve Tyler or Sarah in your issues. If you want to talk, you come to me directly. But if you bring up money again, I'm done. For good." They didn't reply right away, but the next day I got a simple message from Dad. "Understood." It wasn't much, but it was a start. For a while after that, things actually stayed calm. My parents didn't contact Tyler again, and they stopped hinting at money whenever I checked in. It felt like maybe, just maybe, they were finally getting the message. I was starting to believe that things could stabilize, that maybe I could have a relationship with them without all the old baggage. But life had other plans. It was late March when I got an email from a lawyer's office. At first I thought it was some kind of spam, but the subject line caught my eye. "Estate of Daniel Walker, urgent." Daniel Walker? My grandfather. I hadn't seen him in years, not since I was a teenager. He was my dad's father, and had always been a bit of a mystery. He lived out in a rural part of Ohio and didn't visit much, but he was known for being tough and successful in business. When I opened the email, I found out he had passed away. What really threw me was the next line. "You have been named as a primary beneficiary." I read the email 3 times to make sure I wasn't imagining things. Why would Grandpa leave anything to me? We barely knew each other. I called the lawyer the next morning. He explained that my grandfather had left a considerable inheritance, but here was the kicker: it was conditional. I had to attend the will reading in person, and certain stipulations would be revealed at that time. I wasn't sure how to feel. I hadn't even processed the fact that he had died, and now I was being told that my name was in his will. It felt surreal. I decided to tell Tyler first. "Wait. Grandpa left you something?" Tyler sounded as surprised as I felt. "He never mentioned anything about that to me. Hell, Dad barely talked about him." "I know. It doesn't make sense," I said. "But the lawyer said I have to be there for the reading." "You going to tell Mom and Dad?" he asked. I hesitated. I knew if they found out about this, they'd flip. I could already hear Dad's voice in my head. "You're part of the family. We deserve a share of that." "Nah," I finally said. "Not until I know what's going on." Tyler agreed. "Probably smart. Let me know how it goes." A few days later, I flew out to Ohio for the will reading. The lawyer's office was in a small, quiet town, and the whole thing felt like something out of a movie. There were only a few people there, mostly distant relatives I didn't recognize. The lawyer called us into a conference room, where he read through the legal formalities before getting to the important part. Daniel Walker has designated several beneficiaries, he announced. However, the largest portion of the estate, including assets totaling approximately $2.8 million, has been left to his grandson, Ethan Walker. The room went dead silent. I could feel the stares burning into me from every direction. What? I whispered, completely stunned. The lawyer continued. The inheritance comes with one condition. You must not be coerced or pressured into distributing the assets to any other party, including immediate family members. Failure to adhere to this condition will result in the inheritance being revoked and transferred to a charitable foundation. My heart was pounding. I had just become a millionaire overnight, but with a twist. Grandpa had specifically anticipated that my parents, or others, might try to manipulate me. He had protected me, even from beyond the grave. I barely made it out of the office before my phone started blowing up. Somehow, word had already spread. I got calls and texts from family members I hadn't heard from in years, all congratulating me while slyly hinting at investments, or business opportunities. I ignored them. Then came the inevitable call from Dad. Ethan, he said, his voice tight with forced calm. I just heard about Grandpa's will. Congratulations, son. This is big news for the family. There's no family share, Dad. I replied coldly. It's mine, and there are conditions. I can't give any of it to you, even if I wanted to. What are you talking about? We're your parents. You wouldn't even have what you do without us raising you. I laughed bitterly. You mean the same parents who kicked me out when I had nothing? Don't play that card with me. He tried to argue, but I cut him off. You heard me. I'm done having this conversation. I'm not your bank. Goodbye. I hung up and blocked his number. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. A few days later, Tyler called, sounding furious. Ethan, Dad just showed up at my house again. He's pissed about the inheritance and demanding I talk some sense into you. He's losing it, man. He's not going to let this go, is he? I muttered. Nope, Tyler said. But don't worry, I told him if he keeps harassing you or me, I'll get a restraining order. Tyler wasn't kidding. Dad kept pushing. He even sent a message through one of my cousins, saying something like, family ties are stronger than conditions in a will. It was pathetic. I didn't respond. But then, unexpectedly, Mom reached out, not with demands but something different. She sent me a long, heartfelt email. She apologized again for how they had treated me, admitted they were wrong, and said they wanted to make things right, not for money but for a second chance. I didn't know if I could believe her. I showed the message to Tyler. What do you think? I asked. Hard to say. Maybe Dad's still scheming, or maybe Mom really does feel guilty, he said. Either way, you don't have to rush it. You control the terms now. He was right. I replied to her with clear boundaries. No discussions about money, no manipulation, no drama. If they couldn't respect that, I was done for good. To my surprise, they agreed. The next few months were tense but manageable. Dad seemed to begrudgingly back off, and Mom stayed civil. I still didn't fully trust them, but I could tell something had shifted. Maybe losing control over me made them realize what they'd thrown away. Now, it's early 2025. I just got back from celebrating New Year's in the mountains of Europe with my girlfriend. Life is better than I ever imagined it could be. I have my own place, a career I'm proud of, and the support of people who've always had my back, like Tyler. As for my parents, the jury's still out. They might actually be trying, but I've learned the hard way to protect myself. I'll give them a chance, but on my terms. This time, I'm in control. And no amount of money can change that.